What if the most curious and peculiar rumors surrounding the British royal family, often dismissed as mere tabloid sensationalism, were indeed grounded in truth? Consider for a moment imagery of the Queen subtly signaling for assistance with her handbag, or Charles employing bespoke ice cubes during his travels. Picture Diana, shrouded in disguise, infiltrating a nightclub as a gentleman. In this discourse, we unveil 33 astonishing, preposterous yet authentic anecdotes from the enigmatic lineage that is Britain's royal family. These revelations transcend mere scandal. They are unvarnished truths lying in the shadows, myths of royalty whispered through confidences, subtle footnotes, and revelations from a staff. Welcome to a realm of the extraordinary within the monarchy, where the narratives are far stranger than one might anticipate. As we embark on this exploration, if you find yourself intrigued by stories that challenge your perception of reality, consider subscribing. Engage with us as well. Where are you tuning in from, and what is the hour? Perhaps it's the stroke of midnight in Manchester or the early morning hours in Manila. Let's chart the extent of this royal intrigue and its fascination across the globe. The intriguing notion that Queen Elizabeth II harbored a fondness for McDonald's offers a fascinating glimpse into the complexities of royal identity and the public's perception of the monarchy. Imagine, if you will, a quintessential monarch, an embodiment of grace and duty, stepping into a McDonald's nestled within the unremarkable confines of Banbury Gateway Shopping Park, Oxfordshire. This peculiar rumour, which initially seemed like fodder for frivolous tabloid chatter, held deeper implications about the very human beneath the crown. For years, whispers circulated among royal observers and McDonald's employees, who narrated encounters with the monarch that inspired the kind of awe one might feel at an unexpected sighting of a celebrity. The winds of speculation intensified when a notable detail emerged. Elizabeth II held legal claim to the McDonald's franchise via her stake in the Crown Estate. While she may not have been found behind the counter flipping patties or ordering fries at odd hours, the allure of this narrative lies in its juxtaposition of royal gravitas and the mundane. These tales of her frequent visits, each rumoured to involve a preference for unsalted fries, painted a portrait of a monarch partaking in a beloved cultural staple, even amid the trials of leadership in a crumbling empire. Here existed a sovereign who, despite a lifetime of customs and ceremonies, craved the ordinary experience of savouring fast food in a public space, where anonymity reigned and the pressures of duty momentarily dissipated. It's a curious contrast to the highly publicized image of monarchy steeped in tradition and decorum. The potential irony of a queen indulging in a McChicken, nestled in the bustling chaos of a fast food restaurant, indeed unmasked a shared humanity. It disrupted the mythos that surrounds royal figures, revealing that even those adorned with crowns long for simple pleasures, a stark reminder of the unifying nature of shared experiences amidst the towering walls of royalty. Further complicating the narrative, her ownership of the franchise added another layer of social commentary. While the nation wrestled with pressing issues like Brexit, here was a monarch with a financial stake in a quintessentially democratic institution, the fast food queue. This ironic twist invited the public to reconsider the often dismissed rumors that swirl around the royal family, suggesting that they may conceal fragments of truth. As we reflect on these insights, we find ourselves at the intersection between the absurd and the profound, questioning the nature of royalty in a modern age. The tale of Queen Elizabeth II's purported affection for McDonald's is more than just a quaint anecdote. It beckons us to acknowledge the intricate realities that exist beneath the polished veneer of a powerful figure, inviting a contemplation of her humanity within the high-stakes theatre of kings and queens. The peculiar image of Prince Charles travelling with his own toilet seat presents a striking lens through which to analyse the complexities of royal privilege. Initially, such a notion may evoke laughter, reminiscent of parody. It appears to encapsulate the absurdity of a future king refusing to utilize public restrooms deemed unworthy of his royal stature. Yet, this rumor, which floated around like an amusing quip at social gatherings, bore an unsettling truth that became crystal clear over time. Contrary to the expected source of gossip, it emerged from the accounts of former aides and loyal staff members, those who had spent years attempting to soften perceptions of the prince's eccentricities. The revelation that accompanied Charles on his travels was not restricted solely to the infamous seat. It symbolized a wider array of personal comforts that he insisted upon: an orthopedic bed, particular brands of bottled water, monogrammed toilet paper, and an array of organic breakfast items. Such indulgences seemed to blur the lines between royal prerogative and extravagant performance art, embodying a critique of entitlement in the modern age. The fascination with the toilet seat stems from the profound insight it offers into Charles's character, not merely an emblem of snobbery, but rather a complex interplay of his deep-seated need for control, comfort, and perhaps an acknowledgement of his own vulnerabilities. Charles's lifelong preparation for kingship, rather than granting him freedom, had inadvertently placed him in a position of immense scrutiny and expectations. A former aide humorously commented on the necessity of installing the seat prior to his arrival at every destination, uttering jokes about it approaching the idea of possessing its own passport. While fanciful, such anecdote highlighted the extent to which his entourage catered to his whims. Responses from the palace remained silent, a deafening admission that confirmed the reality everyone else recognized, a choice not to challenge a truth that held undeniable implications. Media and public reaction varied widely, oscillating between ridicule and a touch of sympathy for Charles, a modern monarch grappling with expectations amid playful mockery. The barbs of Prince Potty and other headlines served to trivialize a situation that, albeit strange, echoed common habits among elites, be they private chefs or bespoke comforts. Situating Prince Charles's peculiarities within a broader societal context, his reliance on a personal throne reflects not merely entitled indulgences but also his desire for solace amid the relentless gaze of public perception. Thus, the image of the heir to the throne, traversing vast landscapes with a white leather toilet seat, transcends its comedic initial impression. It stirs curiosity regarding the deeper implications of royal life. If such eccentricities manifest externally, what esoteric customs exist behind closed palace doors? Such musings invite an exploration of the delicate balance of tradition, privacy, and the facades maintained by the royal family. A reminder that even the most absurd elements can unveil profound truths about identity, power, and the human experience. In conclusion, the complexities surrounding Prince Charles's peculiar reliance on a personal toilet seat encapsulate a broader narrative of modern monarchy, illustrating the intricate dance between personal agency and public duty, a reminder that beneath the grandeur of royal life, true humanity often resides in the most mundane details. As we delve deeper into royal intricacies, we are invited to consider how appearances shape our understanding of authority and the unfiltered reality of those who embody it. Queen Elizabeth II's ability to navigate the complex realm of public engagement speaks volumes about her strategic acumen, which often remained hidden beneath the surface of royal decorum. It is commonly understood that true power operates subtly, almost invisibly, seldom demanding attention but rather influencing the flow of interactions. The Queen's method of handling conversations with an array of dignitaries, from politicians to schoolchildren, was marked by her poised demeanor, which simultaneously engaged and detached her from the proceedings. Observers have long marveled at her capacity to fill a room with warmth, while employing an arsenal of nuanced signals to extricate herself from tedious dialogues. It was in the delicate interplay of her gestures, particularly her handbag, that the true mechanics of her conversational strategies became evident. To an outsider, the handbag appeared merely an elegant accessory. However, for her staff, it served as an essential tool, a silent code through which they could interpret her needs. For instance, a shift from one hand to another signaled a desire to be saved from an unenlightening exchange, prompting aides to swiftly interject. When more distressing situations arose, such as placing the handbag on the floor, it indicated a pressing need for rescue, an SOS signal cloaked in Chanel. The subtle twirls of her wedding ring or fidgeting with her fingers indicated her readiness to conclude not just the conversation at hand, but potentially the event itself, cueing staff to enact a prearranged extraction plan. Initially met with disbelief and laughter, the notion of a queen sending messages through her purse seemed absurd. This perception shifted dramatically once corroborated by former courtiers and palace insiders who confirmed the existence of these coded interactions. What many may overlook is that monarchy thrives on both ceremony and strategy. The queen resided within every gathering, yet she functioned with an air of separation. This clever manipulation allowed her to engage publicly while maintaining her own space amidst the scrutiny of cameras and onlookers. Thus, what might appear rude was, in fact, an exercise in efficiency, enabling her to manage thousands of encounters successfully each year. In essence, Elizabeth II's tactical escapes from mundane conversations manifested a remarkable dichotomy. She could appear genuinely engaged while simultaneously orchestrating her exit. This intricate dance of social navigation brought forth a fascinating irony. In an era marked by tradition and restraint, her strength lay not in ostentatious displays of power but in the adroit manipulation of gestures. Such absurd strategies underscore a profound truth about sovereign authority. Sometimes, the most whimsical tools become the most effective agents of influence. And amid these captivating revelations surrounding her reign, one particularly curious fact remains. She indeed held ownership over all the swans of England. Queen Elizabeth II purported ownership of all unclaimed mute swans in Britain evokes a blend of folklore and legal peculiarity that seems more fit for a fairy tale than modern governance. This notion, at first glimpse, appears to be an exaggerated relic from the Tudor period, a whimsical myth akin to peculiar statutes about goose taxes or the preservation of ceremonial vegetables. Yet, astonishingly, it holds true, rooted in an archaic property law which designates every unmarked mute swan swimming in the nation's waters to the reigning monarch. Such a curious claim of ownership, unlike metaphorical gestures or poetic licenses, remains binding and legal, stemming from a time when swan flesh symbolized opulence at lavish feasts, all the while surviving historical upheavals from the Black Death to world wars. The public's reaction to the law is a muddled mix of bewilderment and disbelief, especially in an age where trivial lawsuits abound while the monarch can nonchalantly declare a wild animal as hers. The origins of this peculiar claim can be traced to medieval banquets, where swans were luxuries enjoyed by the affluent, signifying wealth and the extravagant consumption typical of the era. Over generations, although the crown ceased to consume swans, favoring more palatable options, the law persisted. By the time Queen Elizabeth II ascended the throne, these regal birds were no longer culinary centerpieces but rather elegant entities in Britain's rivers, blissfully unaware they were listed among the Queen's assets. The enforcement of such an antiquated law is upheld through a curious tradition known as swan-upping. This annual ceremony involves men in red uniforms who row through river sections, tallying and inspecting swans, distinguishing royal ownership from that claimed by ancient guilds. This quirky custom encapsulates an essence of British eccentricity, often likened to a surreal nature documentary, as it presents an absurdity many openly acknowledge but cannot deny. The Queen herself maintained a keen interest in these swans, receiving reports and monitoring their populations as seriously as she would matters of state, highlighting her commitment to tradition and continuity even in trivialities. The tale gained public traction when tourists inquired about the swan population, met with nonchalant, almost routine responses about the Queen's ownership as if it warranted no further explanation. The blend of truth with absurdity captured the imaginations of comedians, who playfully speculated about the Queen keeping meticulous records of swan affairs, an image not far-fetched in light of her legendary organizational skills. Yet, the perplexing aspect lies not merely in the truth of her swan ownership, but in its resonance within contemporary discourse, raising questions about how many other peculiar remnants of monarchy remain hidden behind palace walls. As the narrative of the Queen's whimsical claim unfolds, it serves as a reminder of the lingering anomalies that intertwine with the fabric of British royal customs, suggesting a realm of curiosity that extends beyond the apparent absurdity of owning swans. Within this intricate tapestry, one begins to wonder what other royal anomalies subtly persist, waiting to be unearthed. King Charles III's enduring attachment to his childhood teddy bear presents a fascinating lens through which to examine the complexities of royal life. Often, royalty evokes images of unyielding power and age-old traditions, yet few might expect a king to insist on traveling with a well-worn stuffed animal named Teddy, a cherished relic of his early years. This attachment, far from being mere whimsy, reveals deeper layers of the man behind the crown. For decades, whispers about Charles's fondness for Teddy circulated within royal circles, rising from half-hearted jests to confirmed truths by trusted aides such as Michael Fawcett, his longtime valet. Charles's devotion to his childhood companion illustrates not childishness but a longing for authenticity amid the relentless scrutiny of his public existence. Teddy, adorned with frayed stitching and a replaced eye, became a steadfast symbol of continuity for Charles, echoing his own vulnerabilities as a monarch. The logistics of ensuring Teddy's presence at all royal engagements reflect an almost obsessive care, with travel arrangements meticulously planned to safeguard this silent confidant. Insiders detailed the origins of this attachment, underscoring that while the bear echoed the fragility of a personal history, it also represented resilience, an emblem of the unspoken struggles a royal often faces behind the scenes. Public reactions to this revelation were mixed. Some chuckled at the imagery of a king whispering secrets to a stuffed bear, while others found an unexpected tenderness in his gesture, a glimpse into the emotional foundation sustaining the crown. Alongside tales of unusual personal items he traveled with, Teddy stands out not just for its oddity but for its profound psychological significance. Moreover, this narrative opens a window into royal privilege and the unexamined depths of personal connection within the formalities of monarchy. If Charles's willingness to carry Teddy across decades symbolizes a quiet defiance against the scripted life of a prince, it poses thought-provoking questions about the private emotional lives of monarchs. This invitation to explore the nuances of royal existence extends to Charles's mother, Queen Elizabeth II, whose ability to drive without a license adds another layer to the complexities of being a sovereign, reflecting the remarkable blend of authority and personal freedom that characterizes their world. Queen Elizabeth II exemplified a fascinating intersection of royal privilege and the peculiarities of British law, particularly regarding her ability to drive without ever possessing a driver's license. In a country where everyday citizens grapple with stringent animal welfare regulations, traffic laws, and safety mandates, the Queen's exemption from these rules invites not only admiration but also a degree of incredulity. This peculiar situation stemmed not from legal technicalities or convenient loopholes, but from the fact that driver's licenses in the UK are issued in the name of the reigning monarch. As such, the Queen existed outside the purview of conventional legal constraints. She was, in essence, the law itself. One might speculate on the implications of a monarch who theoretically could traverse the M4 in an unmarked vehicle without legal repercussions, a prospect that dances on the edge of fantasy yet remains grounded in historical fact. Elizabeth, during her service in the Auxiliary Territorial Service in World War II, cultivated not just an affinity for driving but honed her skills as a capable mechanic and military truck driver. This engagement in practical training set her apart from her royal peers, who often engaged in ceremonial duties, illustrating her eagerness to embrace more formidable roles. Throughout her decades-long reign, Elizabeth spurned royal conventions by navigating her private estates and, occasionally, public roads with remarkable ease, often captivating onlookers in her Land Rover, equipped with sunglasses and a headscarf, as she traversed rural paths with a confidence that might have unsettled her bodyguards. The imagery of a monarch defiantly exercising her right, nay, her inherent privilege, to drive freely, devoid of documentation or oversight, stands in stark contrast to the quotidian struggles faced by her subjects. However, despite this compelling narrative of freedom, the story of Elizabeth's driving prowess has often been shrouded in a persistent air of skepticism, reminiscent of urban legends. The notion of a queen maneuvering a vehicle without legal documentation seems almost absurd, yet paradoxically, it was utterly true, resulting in no scandals or mishaps, just the enchanting vision of a woman who embodied both authority and autonomy. In a nation where rules and decorum dictate not only behavior but also language, including a curious prohibition against the term toilet, Elizabeth's liberty to drive without bounds accentuates her exceptional status in a society otherwise bound by regulation. The humor in this dichotomy is not lost. In a realm deeply entrenched in tradition and formality, the Queen deftly maneuvered outside the constraints of societal expectations, a testament to her unique legal position. With this distinctive vantage point, one cannot help but ponder the various royal peculiarities that may lie within the elaborate traditions of palace life, revealing the delightful contradictions that accompany British royalty. The royal family is shrouded in layers of protocol and performance, a dynamic that extends to language itself, revealing an intriguing snapshot of how Queen Elizabeth II and her household navigated the complexities of their public personas. Monarchy, when viewed as a theatrical display, necessitates a carefully crafted script, with every utterance meticulously rehearsed and stage-managed to preserve the facade of regal dignity. Yet beneath this veneer exists an insidious form of censorship, a linguistic code quietly enforced within the palace walls. The existence of a list detailing banned words reflects a peculiar form of internal regulation, one that sprang not from external pressures but from an ingrained aversion to anything deemed too common or unrefined. This nuanced censorship is often obscured by the humor associated with a royal life, leading to dismissals of its seriousness. Curious anecdotes about the royal lexicon reveal a world where even the choice of words is laden with implications. For instance, the term toilet was considered too pedestrian for a royal setting. Deference to tradition led to the preference for the term lavatory, evoking an era of elegance while simultaneously distancing the monarchy from the ordinary populace. Words like pardon were similarly discouraged, as they suggested a submissive demeanor, while lounge and patio gave way to the more appropriate drawing room and terrace. Here, one finds an overarching reluctance to embrace terms embodying the everyday, reflecting an intrinsic fear that sounding normal could equate to being replaceable by the very subjects they govern. These linguistic preferences weren't merely whimsical choices, they were systematically imparted to new personnel within the royal sphere. Invitations were phrased with utmost precision, and event scripts bore the weight of these unspoken guidelines. The insistence on speaking royally, never to suggest that one had patronized a supermarket, reveals the mechanisms through which the monarchy attempts to maintain its ethos amidst shifting cultural landscapes. Indeed, as scholars and biographers have pointed out, the adherence to such a refined lexicon illustrates an obsessive fear within the royal family, that a slip into colloquialism could dissolve the mystique meticulously crafted through generations. In this light, the monarchy's relationship with language morphs into a reflection of its identity, a linguistic treasury that separates it from the masses. In a world where the former powers of divine right have waned, the royal family clings to language, their last bastion of distinction. Yet even amidst this scrutiny, the lives of these figures reveal moments of ordinary tension, juxtaposing regal appearances with everyday realities. Rituals and private habits, like the Queen's daily sipping of gin at lunch, peel back the facade of formality to expose the remnants of humanity nestled within the regal construct. Thus, while language is a vital element of royal identity, it cannot completely obscure the undercurrents of life that persist behind palace gates, where the extraordinary mingles with the painfully mundane. In the intricate mosaic of royal customs and narratives, one thread stands out as both remarkable and surprisingly mundane: the daily gin ritual of Queen Elizabeth II. This habitual indulgence, an assertion amongst the whispers of royal skepticism, resonates profoundly within the annals of history. To the uninformed, the idea that the Queen enjoyed a gin and jus every day at lunch may seem little more than a charming tale, a creation of playful speculation by staff or media eager to embellish the royal image. However, verifiable accounts from her inner circle confirm this behavior not merely as a fancy but as an ingrained routine, primarily initiated by her cousin, Margaret Rhodes, who disclosed that the Queen's preferred concoction comprised 1 part gin, 2 parts jus with a slice of lemon, served meticulously over precisely 2 ice cubes. Such precision in preparation speaks volumes about Elizabeth's character, an unwavering monarch who embraced her alcohol rather than succumbing to its excesses. Herein lies the crux of the matter. The Queen's midday drink was not merely a dalliance with liquor, but a carefully maintained ritual, a heartbeat amidst the ceaseless cadence of royal obligations. In a life heavily regimented, filled with orchestrated appearances and rehearsed eloquence, the practice of savoring the same drink at precisely the same hour depicted a subtle form of personal rebellion, an assertion of individuality against the monumental expectations attached to her status. The public's reaction showcased a fascinating dichotomy. Some were aghast, as if uncovering a scandal hidden within the royal facade, while others found solace in the notion that she indulged in a simple pleasure to endure the burdensome choreography of her reign. Ultimately, the essence of this seemingly trivial act transcended the realm of alcohol. It illustrated a rhythm of existence amidst the cacophony of ceremonial life, underscoring a profound need for personal stability. Unlike the headlines surrounding the less measured indulgences of other royals, Elizabeth's consumption remained understated and accepted. Few scandals arose from these midday moments. They were too ordinary, too daily to incite outrage or even intrigue. Such a mundane choice, substituting the glamour of a champagne toast for the unpretentious gin and jus, reveals a woman grounded in steadfast preferences, eschewing the need for adulation through ostentation. This daily ritual of control, whether misunderstood as a weakness by some or upheld as sacred by those close to her, reflects not an escape but an anchoring. It mirrors the very nature of the monarchy, an enduring institution that withstands the currents of time, echoing the paradox of Elizabeth's reign, revered for her discipline yet cherished for her moments of indulgence. As this singularly British paradox unfolds, external perspectives may mock her habit, branding it insipid or even scandalous, yet within the royal circle, it was a cherished consistency. While the Queen clung to her lunchtime tradition, another member of the royal family found joy in breakfast, not in the confines of a dining room, but grilled outdoors where Prince Philip savoured his mornings with sausages, illuminating yet another facet of life within the palace walls. Prince Philip's culinary unconventionality is epitomized by his penchant for grilling his breakfast outside Buckingham Palace, a habit that starkly contrasted with the grandeur expected of a royal consort. Despite his titles as Duke and naval officer, Philip was often seen as an outsider, royalty not by birth but through marriage to Queen Elizabeth II. This divergence from tradition revealed a personality that thrived on subverting royal decorum. The absurdity of a prince cooking on a portable grill became a source of intrigue among palace staff and visitors alike, as whispers of the fragrant sausages filled the air during early morning strolls. Incognito in his casual attire, Philip transformed the act of grilling into a personal ritual, shunning the elaborate kitchens staffed by trained chefs and instead opting for the simplicity of a small barbecue. Such displays of domesticity conveyed more than mere eccentricity. They represented a desire for autonomy within the stiff confines of royal life. While Elizabeth embodied regal comportment and strategic gravitas, Philip's controlled defiance, exemplified through flipping bacon without the oversight of a butler, hinted at his complex character. This mundane act symbolized a yearning for normalcy amid his ceremonial existence and reflected a man seeking solace in the flames, a brief respite from his obligations. Further illustrating this pattern, similar reports emerged from Balmoral Castle and Sandringham House, where Philip maintained his grilling pursuits. Details about his particular tastes, favourite butcher shops and unique scrambled egg techniques spoke to a culinary individuality that resisted outside interference. The royal staff, well trained in discretion, adapted to these moments of candid intimacy. The image of Philip, half smiling and half muttering expletives over his breakfast, presents a striking contrast to the formality of the monarchy. In a world where monarchy often hinges on elaborate symbolism, Philip intuited a stark preference for practicality over pretense. His preference for robust boots over delicate slippers and intimacy over ostentation painted a portrait of a man comfortably entrenched in his unique quirks. If a portable grill and a love for personal breakfasts could coexist within the vicinity of the throne, one has to contemplate the other quirky idiosyncrasies that might have quietly thrived in the shadow of royal expectations. One wonders, for instance, what other unorthodox habits might lurk behind the carefully guarded gates of Buckingham Palace, perhaps even tales about a certain family member who enjoyed the peculiar ritual of smoking in the bathtub each morning. The life of Princess Margaret remains a tapestry woven with threads of fascination and notoriety, a royal figure whose persona straddled the line between icon and enigma. Each morning ritual she embodied was both observed and speculated upon, often shrouded in an air of dark glamour that intrigued the public's imagination. Described through varying lenses as indulgent, imperious, and magnetic, Margaret commanded attention effortlessly, silencing the most raucous rooms with her mere presence. One particularly gripping rumor that bloomed around her was that of her morning routine, which painted an almost surreal portrait of its own. The princess lounging in a bathtub, cigarette in hand, a glass of whiskey tactfully within reach, while occasionally perusing the daily news. This image, too extravagant for some, seemed straight out of a stylized farce, yet bore a kernel of truth upheld by her devoted staff who witnessed her consistent morning ritual. The accounts of Princess Margaret's early hours depict a life marked by a meticulous adherence to lavishness. Her day did not commence until she deemed it appropriate, often after 9 a.m., when she would pamper herself with a lengthy soak in water warmed to an exact degree, a luxury indicative of her high-functioning hedonism. The act of smoking in the bathtub became a solemn ritual, intertwining fire and water in a performance of defiance and grace, a statement of self-care that challenged traditional decorum. Her mornings were not marked by hurriedness or regret. Rather, they became a manifestation of sovereignty in a larger context laden with dictated decorum. In a royal landscape where spontaneity was nearly non-existent, Margaret carved out a sanctuary of indulgence for herself, sometimes complementing her bath with either whiskey, coffee, or perhaps both. By late morning, she had yet to dress but was already being primed for her public appearances, presenting a carefully curated version of herself to a world oblivious to the hours spent crafting that facade. The publicized version of Princess Margaret often revolved around her royal engagements and fashionable displays, but the nuances of her existence offered deeper insight into her character. The truth behind her ritual was not mere laziness but a profound assertion of individuality, a necessary act of personal agency amidst the rigid structures she was born into. Despite criticisms that portrayed her as excessive, there lay an undeniable honesty in her unabashed choices. Her personal declarations of wealth and temperament were flagrant yet genuine, and the bath became a symbol of consistency in a life marked by unpredictability. While external judgments and relationships dwindled, Margaret's daily ritual remained immutable, a single source of solace amidst chaos. As the narrative unfolded, it painted a portrait of a woman navigating a world of extraordinary privilege, encased within rules she had not authored, yet found her own form of rebellion in the act of self-indulgence and solitude. Ironically, her ritual was not mere rebellion for drama's sake. It was an intelligent, instinctual grasp of significance amidst choreographed living. Even as she sought solace in her hot baths, Margaret was not the only one in the palace pursuing her passions. Meanwhile, in the same hallowed halls, another royal figure occupied herself with a different obsession, an intricate attendance to the performance of racehorses, a testament to her own investment in mastery over the mundane, revealing yet another dimensionality within the royal fabric. Queen Elizabeth II's fascination with horse racing reveals the complex realities of her reign, capturing the dual nature of her public and private identities. On the surface, she embodied the archetype of a monarch dedicated to the ceremonies of state, endowed with a calm demeanor suited to constitutional responsibilities. Yet, beneath this polished facade lay an insatiable passion for horse racing that marked her personal life. While the public perceived her as a figurehead reliant on her advisors, she cultivated a private obsession with her equine companions. Horses such as Estimate, Dunfermline, and Carlton House formed not only the foundation of her stable but also the core of her enthusiasm. Her commitment to the sport was profound and methodical, transcending mere enjoyment. The Queen meticulously tracked the lineage, racing forms, and breeding statistics of her horses with an analytical rigor akin to that found in competitive sports or financial markets. This obsessive engagement transcended the typical pastimes of royalty, seamlessly integrating into the fabric of her daily life. Staff members and political aides found themselves bemused as it became apparent that her interest in horses often eclipsed her interest in politics, giving rise to a notable jest within her inner circle. Former prime ministers recalled their briefings with her, recalling her politeness in political matters, yet observing how her demeanor transformed with discussions surrounding horse racing. With a sharp memory for details about long-past competitors, weather conditions, and racing results, she exceeded the familiarity some of her courtiers had with pressing governmental issues. In her official presence, she maintained the decorum expected of her position but animatedly engaged when the conversation shifted toward racetracks and results, revealing a vibrant and witty side seldom seen in political discourse. The Queen's engagement in horse racing was far from fleeting. It commenced in her youth at 19 and persisted throughout her life, resulting in hundreds of bred horses and over 1,800 race victories. This passion culminated in notable moments, such as her beaming joy when Estimate won the Gold Cup at Ascot in 2013, a historical achievement that marked her as the first reigning monarch to claim the title in the race's lengthy history. This triumph represented not merely a victory in a sporting event but a personal affirmation of her choices and commitments. Amidst political speculation about her views on governance or economic matters, she remained engrossed in training methods and recovery protocols, deftly redirecting conversations toward matters of racing when the opportunity arose. The dichotomy of a monarch engrossed more in horse racing than statecraft paints a nuanced image of her priorities, wherein political engagement occasionally slipped to the periphery against her fervor for her beloved horses. In this light, her detached politeness toward political engagements contrasted starkly with the fervor with which she embraced her racing passion, revealing a woman who blended the weight of responsibilities with genuine love for a lifelong pursuit, asserting that her royal identity encompassed far more than the public narrative suggested. Monarchs may change clothes multiple times a day, but in Elizabeth, it's clear, true passion went deeper than appearances. Prince Charles, now known as King Charles III, is often remembered not just for his royal lineage, but for the manner in which he approached his daily attire, a series of meticulously curated outfits changed as frequently as 5 times a day. Such a claim might initially appear extravagant, even bordering on the ridiculous, a portrayal fit for the tabloids. Yet, the truth of this routine has been corroborated by numerous aides and royal biographers. Charles's wardrobe choices were not merely a matter of luxury. They were a thoughtful orchestration of presentation, each outfit tailored to its particular context and, it seems, his fluctuating mood. His selection included an array of garments for diverse occasions: morning suits, walking attire, gardening clothes, and formal jackets for various meals, right through to evening wear for black tie events. This seemingly excessive practice might seem absurd to outsiders, yet for Charles, it transcended mere vanity. It became a personal ritual. Over the years, skepticism surrounded the claims of his sartorial habits, often dismissed as exaggerated accounts propelled by anecdotal tales and the whims of overzealous staff. However, the recurring testimonies paint a picture of a man devoted to precise tailoring, abhors the mere notion of creases, and possesses an intrinsic need for his shoes to align with the day's ensemble in requisite formality. His former valet, Michael Fawcett, revealed that each aspect of his wardrobe was meticulously planned, with every piece freshly pressed and often heated to ensure comfort, a ritual that included heated hangers and even hot water bottles for warmth. Charles's meticulousness extended beyond mere cleanliness. It was about curation. Each sock corresponded to a specific shoe, and every jacket was appointed a unique role. While critics may perceive this as obsession, it revealed a deeper fundamental relationship with his public persona. For a man enmeshed in a role heavily linked to public perception, Charles embodied the royal maxim that optics hold paramount importance. Differentiating himself from his mother, who ruled with restraint, he exhibited a meticulous precision in appearance. Ironically, this extensive array of outfits was less about public delight and more an intimate declaration of self, often enacted away from public scrutiny. The small rituals of his clothing choices became an assertion of his individuality in a life largely orchestrated by the demands of monarchy. In a world devoid of personal agency concerning his obligations and future, he found solace in the minutiae of his wardrobe. Every outfit change represented a quiet act of rebellion against the rigidity of royal life. While critics often labeled such habits obsessive, Charles viewed them as a means of asserting control. Herein lies a fascinating contradiction. Though he adorned himself in layers of tradition and expectation, his compulsion for perfect presentation acted as a refuge, offering a semblance of autonomy amidst the constraints of his existence. His meticulous habits became a point of light-hearted speculation within palace circles, where staff humorously suggested that one could ascertain the day's itinerary simply by observing which shoes were missing from the hallway. Each shoe told a story, whether indicating a serene afternoon stroll or a retreat into the privacy of his study. Yet, beneath the laughter and ridicule lies the humanity of a man attempting to navigate the complexities of royal life. The image of Charles exchanging cufflinks amid discussions on sustainable agriculture, while seemingly farcical, reflects a genuine effort to adapt his eccentricities into a survival mechanism within the confines of monarchy. In a world where his mother embraced a measured devotion to duty, he embraced his own distinct quirks as a method of understanding his royal responsibilities, one carefully selected outfit at a time. Both Charles and his mother, in their own peculiar ways, retained a poetic relationship with their identities, revealing the intricate dance between duty, individuality, and the often contradictory nature of royal life. Queen Elizabeth II's approach to ceremonial cake cutting offers a captivating glimpse into the subtleties of her personality and reign. While most attendees at formal events adhere strictly to the established protocols, smiling for the cameras, adhering to tradition, Queen Elizabeth II often chose to subvert expectations in delightful ways. Notoriously, she developed a reputation for using the wrong side of the knife when cutting cakes. This peculiar habit, seemingly trivial on the surface, reflects a deeper complexity within her character, revealing a playful streak hidden beneath her polished public facade. In June 2021, during an event celebrating her Platinum Jubilee, the Queen's choice to jab a ceremonial sword into a beautifully presented cake, blunt side first, left onlookers uncertain whether they were witnessing a royal faux pas or a clever jest. Her quip, "I don't think this is going to work," elicited nervous laughter, a testament to the audience's ambivalence toward her somewhat unconventional approach to tradition. This moment was far from an isolated incident, as numerous former aides and staff had noted her long-standing tendency to challenge ceremonial expectations, whether it was by altering the angle of her slice or opting for less conventional portions of the cake. Elizabeth's humor was not overt but rather subtle and strategic, akin to a chess player's careful moves, subtly shifting the dynamics of her appearances. By wielding the blunt edge of a cake knife, she nudged the rigidity of royal protocol, inviting audiences to breathe a bit easier amidst the formalities. The dynamics of her actions seemed to suggest that, in the one area of ceremonial life where she could exert personal influence, the cutting of a cake, she chose to do so on her terms. Royal chefs themselves anticipated this playful defiance, often leaving hints on how she might best slice the cake, only to have her smile and bypass their guidance. The Queen's actions serve as an articulation of her subtle rebellion against the constraints of her public role, embodying the tension between rigid tradition and her unique individuality. Amidst the weighty responsibilities of monarchy, this seemingly insignificant defiance reveals a profound truth. The smallest acts of rebellion can speak volumes. Elizabeth II's deliberate use of the wrong side of the knife was not simply a quirky habit but a commentary on her existence as both a sovereign and an individual, trapped in the expectations of her position, yet choosing, in small ways, to reclaim agency. Despite her adherence to royal traditions, there lingered a captivating tension within her reign, a constant balancing act between her role as a figurehead and her desire for authenticity. Indeed, this was not merely about cake. It called into question the rituals that govern royal life, all while showing glimpses of her human side. Thus, in her understated but unmistakable manner, Elizabeth exemplified the complexity of monarchy and the indelible truth that even the smallest choices can reflect the larger narrative of a life spent in the public eye. Prince Harry's youthful years at Eton College reveal an intriguing blend of rebelliousness and tenderness, a narrative worthy of reflection in the context of royal life. Born into the prestigious British monarchy as the second in line to the throne, Harry's penchant for mischief often outshone more traditional familial responsibilities. Long before his headlines-making declarations to step back from royal duties, he was merely an exuberant red-haired adolescent navigating the complexities of aristocracy, all while harboring an unconventional secret, a pet chameleon concealed in his dormitory. This clandestine companion, illicitly smuggled past Eton's regulations, became an emblem of Harry's own struggles with identity and belonging in a meticulously structured world. It was both amusing and astonishing to consider a chameleon, an animal capable of altering its appearance based on its surroundings, chosen over more typical adolescent pets, like dogs or cats. Such an eccentric choice seemed to underscore the innate contradictions of royal life. Here was a boy, caught amidst the expectations of grandeur, yearning instead for the companionship of an extraordinary yet unorthodox creature. At Eton, where discipline and tradition reigned supreme, Students were acutely aware that pets were not merely frowned upon but implicitly discouraged. Yet Harry's rebellious spirit led him to contrive ways to sneak the reptile into his life, a decision that arguably stemmed from a desire to inject a bit of personal warmth into his otherwise cold, cloistered existence. Reports circulated about the creature's modest habitat tucked under his bed, complete with a heat lamp and live crickets, indicating a surprising level of care from its young owner. Nevertheless, the inevitable nature of human curiosity eventually unraveled Harry's escapade. The chameleon's presence in scholarly quarters was discovered, its vibrant tail giving away its concealment. The repercussions of this revelation seemed almost anticlimactic, a reprimand that blended the authority of tradition with an unmistakable hint of benevolence, leading to the chameleon's quiet rehoming. This episode did not become just a tale of youthful rebellion. It metamorphosed into a cherished anecdote among those in the know, illustrating Harry's quest for genuine connection amidst the restrictive boundaries of royal expectations. What stands out in this historical vignette is not merely the act of smuggling a pet into school, but rather the deeper implications of his choice. In a realm saturated with protocol and decorum, Harry's bond with the chameleon symbolized his longing for authenticity and companionship in a life often devoid of such ties. Far from serving as an invitation for ridicule, this story reveals poignant undercurrents of belonging and personal identity, encapsulating the essence of a young prince caught between his royal lineage and the universal quest for connection. Transitioning from Harry's escapades, one encounters another subtle dimension of royal life concerning Queen Elizabeth II, whose lunchtime habits were shrouded in their own tacit intrigue, specifically her peculiar aversion to sandwich crusts. This seemingly trivial detail, juxtaposed with the grandeur of monarchy, offers echoes of the relatable, domestic moments that persist even amidst the glittering facade of royalty. Queen Elizabeth II's aversion to crusts on her sandwiches may seem peculiar, yet it presents a fascinating glimpse into the complex rituals that govern her life as a monarch. Within the grand framework of royalty, characterized by elaborate ceremonies and intricate protocols, emerges a collection of endearing, almost childlike tendencies that challenges our perception of regality. The seemingly trivial habit of avoiding crusts raises questions about preference and control in the life of one of history's most enduring sovereigns. This was not mere whimsy, it was affirmed by the royal kitchen staff, who recounted the precise manner in which the Queen insisted her sandwiches be crafted. White bread, uniformly buttered, and filled with inconspicuous ingredients like cucumber or salmon, must be presented devoid of any crusts, removed methodically in square, uniform shapes. Such meticulous attention to detail illustrated a visual discipline that transcended the mundane act of enjoying a meal. The Queen's inspection of her tea tray bore resemblance to the scrutiny given to diplomatic correspondence. Any imperfections resulted in the tray being discreetly returned for adjustments. The anecdote gained traction among royal observers, told with a reverent or usually reserved for matters of state. Some analysts suggested that this preference stemmed from her formative years, cultivated by attentive nannies who wished to please the young princess. This idiosyncrasy became emblematic of a broader characteristic of Elizabeth's reign, her insistence on structure amid the uncontrollable chaos of a sovereign's obligations. The choice reflects a quintessentially British ethos. Here is a monarch managing the minutiae of afternoon tea while simultaneously engaging with world leaders. Yet, her refusal to embrace crusts speaks to a deeper psychological need for order in a life so heavily anchored by duty. In an existence where public perception and international affairs remained unyielding, the Queen wielded control over her immediate surroundings, manifesting efficiency in the very act of dining. The ripple effect of her preferences extended well beyond personal indulgence. They influenced the entire royal household and its culinary practices. During grand garden parties, where hundreds awaited tiny sandwiches, the royal kitchens adhered strictly to the crustless standard, a testament to her unspoken influence. Even the most junior staff members understood the necessity of conforming to the monarchical preference. Thus, Elizabeth II crustless sandwiches become emblematic of how personal habits can shape institutional standards within the British monarchy. Furthermore, this seemingly trivial detail is juxtaposed with the stark contrast of another royal figure, the Queen Mother, who indulged in more unabashed pleasures, operating in a realm of concealed revelry far removed from Elizabeth's circumspection. Together, these narratives weave a nuanced tapestry of royal life, illustrating how individual habits can have profound implications, guiding behaviors and expectations in a world saturated with tradition and decorum. The existence of the Queen Mother's clandestine vodka room stands as a curious testament to the contradictions of British royalty, transcending the realms of scandalous rumour and charming anecdote to dwell in an unusual intersection that elicits both intrigue and bemusement. The assertion that Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, widow of King George VI and matriarch of the British monarchy, maintained a secret sanctuary dedicated exclusively to vodka, a notion that initially appears preposterous, is indeed grounded in reality. Born in 1900, she lived through momentous historical events, including 2 world wars and the advent of television, all while presenting an image of endearing dignity that belied her more spirited tendencies. She has become a figure imbued with both nostalgia and reverence, embodying the serene facade of a beloved grandmother, yet insiders reveal her as a woman capable of outpacing Russian diplomats in drink, poised for garden gatherings by day. Whispers among palace staff at Clarence House, her residence following her husband's death, spoke of a discreet enclave. This was no formal wine cellar or storage area, but an informal space solely for her personal liquor, modest yet reliably stocked, with vodka being its crowning glory. Insiders describe this room less as a bar and more as a ritualistic retreat where she might indulge in a cocktail or two with trusted companions. Gin and Dubonnet might be her known favourites, yet vodka served as her quiet pleasure. This private indulgence was not merely a trivial distraction. The Queen Mother had distinct preferences regarding brands, mixes, and even the shape of her ice cubes, reflecting meticulous attention to her enjoyment. In her household, the routine commenced not with the rubbing of proverbial hands over formal breakfasts but with the rolling out of the drinks trolley, marking the transition into a day that might feature libations at 11:30 a.m., an expected 4 p.m. drink, and a nightcap that blended into early morning hours, each sip a part of her cherished personal tradition. The duality of her public image, the resolute figure who symbolized British courage during the Blitz, contrasts sharply with this private passion for vodka, an irony not lost on her contemporaries. Her hidden habit was neither concealed nor condemned. Rather, it became integrating fabric of her royal existence, transcending the expectations of royal decorum while illustrating her humanity. This well-kept secret, however, found no mention in official biographies, too peculiar and too personal for documented history. Interestingly, this tradition persisted in whispers, recounted by staff and bolstered by the confidence of guests, hinting at a relational tapestry woven with intimacy and delightful absurdity. Indeed, one particular incident illustrates the unpredictable nature of royal life, where Prince Philip once reportedly chased paparazzi from royal grounds with a Land Rover, a brief encounter that underscores the eccentricities that often accompany such storied lives. Thus, the vodka room remains an emblematic vignette of a royal legacy, layered in complexity and steeped in the quiet realities of its time. Prince Philip, known throughout his life by various titles such as Duke of Edinburgh and Consort to the Queen, earned an unofficial moniker among royal staff, the man most likely to cause a scene in a Land Rover. This humorous yet cautionary title hints at a deeper complexity in his character. The anecdote regarding his pursuit of paparazzi across the grounds of Sandringham, an event that seems almost satirical in its absurdity, serves as a striking testament to his spirited nature. Picture a prince in his later years, garbed in countryside attire, racing across the estate as though he were a rebellious park ranger, passionately confronting intrusive tabloid photographers. Remarkably, this confrontation is rooted in truth. The tale unfolds at Sandringham, a sprawling 20,000-acre estate where the royal family sought refuge from public scrutiny, reveling in the eccentricities characteristic of rural aristocracy. Nonetheless, the reach of the press extended even into this sanctuary. With their long lenses primed, photographers lingered near the estate's boundaries, ever watchful for a candid shot of the Queen walking her dogs or of Prince Charles in designer boots navigating through the mudded paths of the estate. Yet, Prince Philip's approach to such intrusions was markedly different. On a cold December morning, reports indicate that a cluster of photographers had set up their cameras near a lesser-used road, a spot that, while technically public, breached the unspoken etiquette of respecting the royal family's privacy during their holidays. Rather than alerting the authorities or sending a polite notice, Philip opted for a more direct method. He climbed into his Land Rover, expressed his frustration, and drove toward the photographers with purpose. Witnesses described the vehicle's advance as both deliberate and forceful, prompting the startled photographers to scramble in a bid to collect their gear and escape. The sight of Philip in pursuit, an 80-something royal with the demeanor of a man unafraid of confrontation, is comically striking yet entirely plausible. As he drew nearer, the tension mounted, yet the onlookers were left uncertain about how best to respond. Following them to the main road, he rolled down the window and delivered a pointed message about their inadequate manners, though the exact words remain unrecorded, a detail that adds to the enigma of his persona. This incident, shared informally in palace circles and local pubs surrounding Sandringham, embodies Philip's larger character. He detested being merely ornamental. He preferred taking direct action, whether correcting a public disturbance or tackling practical tasks around the royal household. Coming from a military background, he favored results over diplomatic tact. His love for driving, often at high speeds along country roads, underscored his independent spirit and belied the constraints placed upon him as a royal consort. Driving offered him the freedom to lead. Yet, it is not merely the spectacle of a royal engaging with the press that captivates, but the very essence of Philip himself, a man who embodied a belief in personal duty and action. His arena of influence extended to the kitchen barbecue or a malfunctioning radiator, reflecting a personality unwilling to delegate responsibility. As he navigated the estate with both vigor and a hint of intimidation, another curious rumor circulated within the confines of Buckingham Palace, a claim regarding a hidden ATM that sounded just as improbable, yet spoke to the quirky lore surrounding the royal family. In the grand tapestry of Buckingham Palace, a remarkable artifact lurked within its opulent walls, a private ATM, an incongruity amidst the 775 rooms, 52 bedrooms, and 78 bathrooms that serve the English monarchy. One might initially question the necessity of cash in a royal residence where the Queen's personal effects typically comprised only eyeglasses and a handkerchief, leaving little room for the mundane transactions of everyday life. Yet within this royal enclave, the need for such an installation speaks to the complexities of managing a contemporary monarchy. The whispers surrounding this private ATM initially resided in the realm of jest, dismissed as mere satire on the eccentricities of royal living. The idea carried the whimsical scent of a Monty Python sketch, yet it soon transformed into undeniable truth as Coutts, a venerable bank entwined with British aristocracy, verified its existence. This was not merely a machine plopped next to the souvenir shop. It was strategically positioned for the select few within the royal network, ensuring that transactions could be conducted discreetly and efficiently, without the constraints of an account needing overdraft protection. The underlying rationale for this strange presence, hidden away from the public eye, lies in the nuanced logistics of royal engagements. The Queen and her household host numerous formal events annually, necessitating funds for tips and last-minute arrangements. While cash may seem archaic in a world dominated by digital transactions, it remains essential for the urgent demands that arise behind palace walls. The necessity extends beyond the Queen herself. It accommodates aides and couriers who require immediate access to funds without stepping onto public streets, all within a context where appearances hold great significance. Installed in a secure area off-limits to media and guests, this ATM underscores the principle that even the most polished veneer of royalty has its operational demands. The Queen, a figure symbolized by banknotes, paradoxically had the means to withdraw those notes merely a few steps away from her presence. Beneath the grandeur of royal life lies an irony that highlights a vital truth. While royal protocol enshrines a certain formality, the practicalities of daily management within a storied institution often bend toward the mundane. This hidden ATM serves as a window into the complexities and contradictions of monarchy, a world replete with tradition, yet governed by human need. In an environment where everything is meticulously curated, the existence of this machine as a sort of backstage prop invites contemplation about the realities of royal life. Amidst the glittering chandeliers and priceless artifacts, one finds the nuanced truth of a monarchy navigating the logistical intricacies of a modern household. Cloistered within these walls are potentially even more intriguing secrets, perhaps tales of youthful indiscretions among the heirlooms, reminiscent of a young prince's misadventure with a fragile vase, a reality far removed from the polished image of royal decorum. In this delicate balance of grandeur and humanity, one can uncover the essence of leadership in the contemporary age, reminding us that while monarchy may be theatre, the actors are profoundly familiar with the complexities of life behind the curtain. In the annals of royal history, few anecdotes capture the juxtaposition of inherent privilege and the realities of childhood quite like the tale of Prince William's misadventure with a cherished vase. The image of the contemporary prince, namely the well-groomed scion of the House of Windsor, polished in appearance and speech, perpetually under the watchful gaze of the press, stands in stark contrast to the boy he once was. Despite being raised amidst immense wealth and the pomp of royalty, William was still, at his core, merely a child navigating the complexities of youth. Behind the veneer of royal expectation lurked moments of innocence and folly, exemplified by the humorous yet revealing incident in which he accidentally broke a priceless vase within the confines of Kensington Palace. Whispers of this event, initially dismissed as mere palace gossip, resurfaced years later when some former staff members fondly confirmed its validity. The scene, a collision of normalcy and royal grandeur, featured a young William, playful, unaware of the treasures surrounding him, engaging in a reckless indoor game with his brother Harry, culminating in the unfortunate crash of something irreplaceable. The specifics of the vase remain debated, whether a Ming Dynasty artifact or a French antiquity, yet there is consensus on its ancient value. Most tellingly, the reaction to the incident was not a display of royal authority, but rather a distinct maternal response from Princess Diana, who had consistently sought to imbue her sons with a sense of normalcy, even within the palace's rigid constraints. Her decision to ground William, imposing consequences akin to those any mother might enforce, spoke volumes. It served as a reminder that he too was subject to the rules of disappointment and responsibility, despite his royal lineage. This grounding, a seemingly mundane punishment, effectively illustrated a vital lesson. Privilege does not absolve one from accountability. Over time, this story became a cherished memorandum of life behind palace doors, revealing the humorous and human moments concealed within an environment otherwise defined by decorum and severity. It powerfully juxtaposes the image of a future king against the backdrop of a reckless yet familiar childhood mistake, reminding us that even in the most opulent settings, the reminders of childhood remain unshakable. Diana, understanding the importance of grounding her sons in reality, provided them with a framework not of untouchability, but of understanding and consequence, reflecting a parenting ethos that prioritizes genuine connection over regal projection. As William matured, this lesson seemingly lingered, with whispers of his newfound caution around fragile valuables suggesting the indelible mark of that childhood misstep. The narrative takes an intriguing turn, transcending mere hearsay, as it hints at the ability of even the most royal scion to learn from misfortune, underscoring a universal truth, that moments of levity often coexist within the halls of grandeur. Thus, while the legacy of this incident may ebb with time, the enduring essence of a deeply human experience remains intact, resonating with the delicate balance between royalty and responsibility. The narratives surrounding Princess Diana often straddle the line between fact and embellishment, particularly when one considers the tale of her roller skating through Buckingham Palace. Initially dismissed as mere tabloid fodder, the account gained credibility through a candid revelation from her bodyguard, who shared the anecdote with a blend of fondness and resignation, indicating that Diana embraced moments of rule-breaking with ease. According to him, she would wait for the palace to quiet down before gliding through the grand marble corridors, an image both enchanting and incongruous against the backdrop of the stately residence. Diana, youthful and spirited, drifted by historic artifacts, embodying a whimsical defiance that both captivated the public and unsettled the royal establishment. Her roller skating, contrary to being a brazen political gesture or a calculated act of rebellion, represented a yearning for relief from the overwhelming formality of her royal existence. Here, in a palace overflowing with echoes of tradition, where every gesture was scrutinized, she sought to reclaim moments of normalcy. In a residence comprising over 775 rooms, her activities were not just playful whims, they were vital manifestations of her individuality against an oppressive milieu. With her Walkman blaring favorites like Duran Duran, she found a sanctuary of noise to blossom amid the palace's muted whispers. Staff and royal aides, rather than reprimanding her, chose to indulge her escapades, either laughing as they observed from a distance or offering gentle caution for the inevitable antique hazards, a tacit acknowledgement of her need for liberation. Ironically, while her position afforded her neither privacy nor autonomy, her skating became an emblem of personal rebellion, a fleeting escape within the confines of hierarchical expectations. Decades later, this peculiar yet poignant glimpse into Diana's life continues to spark intrigue and admiration. The story recurs in biographies and dramatizations, yet its essence remains unchanged. It reveals a profound truth about a woman who longed for joy in a world that sought to define her. Amidst the glitz of royal life, where she donned gowns to captivate society as well as scrubs in compassion, Diana avoided the predetermined roles set before her by embracing her own moments of joy through roller skating. In stark contrast, others within the royal family found solace in the rigidity of expected decorum, revealing their relief through sharp words rather than playful actions. Among them was Princess Anne, known for her unfiltered opinions, illustrating the broader spectrum of rebellion within the palace walls. In her desire to simply feel alive, Diana carved out a legacy that resonates as both beloved folklore and enduring truth. Princess and embodies a fascinating contradiction within the highly structured world of the British royal family. A member of a lineage that upholds decorum, where every handshake and nod is weighed for significance, and stands out for her bluntness, not rebellious in the manner of her sister-in-law, Diana, but rather straightforward to an almost refreshing degree. This boldness is perhaps best illustrated by the persistent rumors that she possessed a sailor's command of expletives. Initially dismissed as mere rumor, which seemingly contradicted her polished public image as the Queen's only daughter, it became increasingly evident through testimonies from royal staff and journalists that her language was indeed something to behold. Princess and employed profanity in various settings, from important meetings to casual encounters, often punctuating her thoughts with unexpected candor. Her use of strong language, described by a former correspondent as akin to that of a frustrated dockworker, was not a reflection of rebellion, but rather an expression of sheer efficiency. Unlike the typically circumspect members of the royal family, who navigate discomfort with subtlety, and directly addressed inefficiency and foolishness, her commands, often laced with expletives, were merely pragmatic expressions aimed at getting the job done, devoid of personal malice. Her approach to communication was, in fact, refreshingly unvarnished compared to the passive nuances that often characterize royal interactions. Even Queen Elizabeth, known for her stoicism, seemed to acknowledge her daughter's manner of speaking, perhaps choosing to disregard it in favor of maintaining momentum in the royal machinations. With an impressive schedule of engagements and resilience in challenging environments, and demonstrated that practical efficiency, rather than elegance, was her strong suit. The pinnacle of her candidness unfolded during a widely circulated clip at a NATO event, where she was seen expressing irritation toward a security guard. Although the exchange was not audible, many observers noted her apparent choice of words as distinctly unroyal. Yet, rather than scandalizing audiences, this incident revealed a woman deeply rooted in the rhythm of royal obligations, lacking patience for unnecessary delays. Throughout her life, and has digitally navigated towards a transparent approach, calling out inefficiencies to preserve her focus on duty. Her blunt language has paradoxically cultivated her respect among peers. It offered clarity in an environment often steeped in uncertainty and unspoken etiquette. If someone encountered her colorful language, it signaled inclusion in her circle, while facing an expletive directly could imply a call that something had gone awry. Although her linguistic choices may raise eyebrows among the highbrow circles of Buckingham Palace, they pale in comparison to the more bizarre tales that circulate within royal couture, such as the curious anecdote involving Prince Philip and a mythic self-portrait as a centaur. Thus, Princess Anne remains a remarkable figure, crafted by her own candidness and practicality amidst the complexities of royal expectations. In the realm of royal eccentricity, few tales dance between myth and reality quite like that of Prince Philip's rumored portrait as a centaur. This narrative, frequently recounted in bemusement at social gatherings, initially seemed to belong to the realm of light-hearted jest. One might imagine a tipsy gulligoer joking about the Duke of Edinburgh's whimsical choice of self-representation, half man, half horse, a portrayal that teeters on the absurd yet intriguingly plausible given his nature. Yet, as whispers spread through the palace corridors, the story took on an air of credibility. Trusted aides and the fortunate visitors to Prince Philip's private office lent confirmation to the existence of this unconventional artwork, specifying that it was not hidden away, but rather displayed amongst naval collectibles and family mementos. This striking image depicted Philip's torso, sculpted and bare, merging into the robust body of a horse, set against an evocative landscape. It was, according to accounts, an impossible sight to overlook, eliciting varied reactions from those who beheld it. The origins of the painting are shrouded in speculation. Some rumored it arrived as a peculiar gift from an admirer, while others posited that Philip himself commissioned this unique homage to his own idiosyncratic identity. In a role often delineated by formality and constraint, as he once remarked, feeling akin to a bloody amoeba, the centaur depicted a rebellious assertion of individuality, a reminder that while he may have remained in the shadows of the Queen, he did so with a boldness atypical of royal demeanor. Prince Philip never chose to address this portrait directly, a silence that underscored his mastery of unspoken communication. The artwork itself was a testament to defiance and absurdity, qualities that animated much of his character. Palace staff exhibited a spectrum of reactions, from skepticism to amusement, recounting experiences of awkwardly sipping tea under the watchful gaze of a royal centaur. When a curious aide inquired about its relation to a broader collection, Philip's smirk and cryptic response, "That depends. Do you know what a minotaur looks like?" further solidified the painting's enigmatic status. Ultimately, one must reflect on its deeper significance. In a landscape of formal portraiture rife with symbolism, Philip opted for satire and myth, crafting an image that resonated with his truth, an individual existing at the nexus of tradition and chaos, often straddling the boundary between system and rebellion. He possessed the remarkable ability to oscillate between polished rhetoric and brusque candor, embodying the contradiction of his existence. This portrayal likely transcended mere folly, serving as a nuanced reclamation of his identity, an assertion amidst constraints that reduced him to an appendage of the throne. In a palace decorated with conventional artistry, the existence of such an unconventional representation might indeed rank as one of the most genuine artifacts within its walls. Moreover, it offers a glimpse into a royal psyche that recognizes the inherent absurdity of their existence. In this light, one also encounters the whimsical anecdotes surrounding Queen Elizabeth, who supposedly stored her breakfast cereal in unassuming plastic Tupperware, an echo of a family that, despite their layered extravagance, harbors a sense of humor about their reality. Queen Elizabeth, the second choice of Tupperware for her breakfast cereal, reveals an intriguing intersection of royal life and personal preference that transcends mere eccentricity. It is a striking image, juxtaposing an icon of British royalty, whose visage graces the nation's currency and whose palatial residences are the epitome of opulence, with the simplicity of a commonplace plastic container. Initially dismissed as a tabloid jest, this peculiar detail of the Queen's morning routine has been confirmed by former royal chefs and staff, who recount her preference for practicality over ostentation with a mixture of fondness and respect. Despite the splendor of Buckingham Palace, the Queen's breakfast habits were notably unpretentious. Each day, her private dining room would welcome a tray bearing Earl Grey tea, toast with marmalade, and cereals stored in Tupperware, specifically Special K or Weetabix, depending on her mood and the season. This habitual meal was devoid of theatricality. Her Majesty quietly lifted the lid of the container, pouring her cereal with a precision akin to a naval officer. The choice of Tupperware is telling not merely of thrift, but of a deliberate affinity for efficiency and familiarity. It protected the freshness of her cereal, thereby providing a comforting sense of order amidst the ceremonial obligations of her role, a necessity for her life governed by strict protocol. The image of a silver-trayed breakfast, complete with an embroidered linen napkin and a crystal jug of milk, sharply contrasts with the humble Tupperware, which encapsulated her cereal. This dissonance, while seemingly trivial, speaks volumes about Elizabeth's character, a monarch raised in the turmoil of war, shaped by self-discipline and the weight of royal expectation. In her choice to begin her day from a simple container, the Queen's actions reflect a deeper philosophy. Monarchy at its core is not about excessive luxury but about rituals that provide comfort and stability. In a world often characterized by grandiosity, the Queen's embrace of Tupperware serves as a poignant reminder of her unwavering commitment to the familiar and the routine. She could command the finest chefs and ingredients from across the globe, but instead chose a method that mirrored the lives of countless subjects in her realm, lending her an authentic touch amidst the gilded trappings of royalty. Tupperware may have represented one of the few uncomplicated authorities in her otherwise formal life, a small act of agency in a sea of tradition and obligation. Yet, as she starts her day with measured cereal, her son Charles converses quietly with his plants. Another layer of the royal narrative unfolds, hinting at the complex human experiences behind the facade of power and public duty. Charles, the future King Charles III, is often remembered for his unconventional approach to life, encapsulated in the rather whimsical rumor of his conversations with plants. This tale, which first emerged in the 1980s, sparked both laughter and derision as it painted Charles as an eccentric who would casually chat with his flowers while tending his gardens. The media portrayed him as a curious figure, akin to a quirky artist, in stark contrast to the traditional royal demeanor exemplified by his family. His interest in poetry, the environment, and architecture set him apart in a family known for its stern public image. Yet, rather than dismissing the rumor, Charles embraced it. In a notable 1986 interview, he openly acknowledged his practice of speaking to his plants, asserting that he believes they respond to his attention. This unabashed admission drew a polarized reaction. Critics scoffed, while others in holistic and ecological circles nodded in agreement, recognizing Charles's perspective as prescriptive rather than bizarre. His commitment to organic gardening predated the contemporary concerns surrounding sustainability and climate change, highlighting his awareness of nature's needs and his advocacy for a deeper connection between humans and the natural world. Charles's approach was not merely whimsical. He viewed his interactions with plants as an essential relationship grounded in respect. Reports from his staff revealed that this was more than an infrequent curiosity. It was a habitual practice that provided him solace amidst the tumult of public life, a personal sanctuary where he felt free from judgment. For him, the act of tending to his garden was both therapeutic and nurturing, where he could express his introspective nature without the constraints often imposed by royal expectation. In an era when the relationship between humans and nature was becoming increasingly fraught, Charles's willingness to engage with his environment showcased a thoughtful, albeit unconventional, commitment to ecological stewardship. His experience contrasts sharply with that of other royals, like Princess Margaret, who sought solace in luxuries that catered to her personal preferences, an intimate bath experience that emphasized her habitual need for control and comfort. In this juxtaposition lies a broader commentary on the complexities of royal life, where personal habits reveal much about inner worlds often hidden from public scrutiny. Charles's reported conversations with plants, once ridiculed, now may be understood, in retrospect, as an insightful acknowledgement of a deepening disconnect with nature, a sentiment that resonates more profoundly today in our ongoing discourse on environmentalism. Princess Margaret, the younger sister of Queen Elizabeth II, stands as a figure enveloped in luxury and contradiction. Her penchant for opulence extended beyond mere lifestyle choices. It manifested in the extraordinary notion that she traveled with her own bathwater. This revelation, seemingly a caricature of aristocratic excess, actually reveals the intricate layers of Margaret's character and the echoing traditions of royal privilege. A biographer's cautious use of the word particular scarcely encompasses the complexities of her demands, particularly her exacting bathing rituals. Reports from former staff indicate that her bathing preferences extended to meticulous specifications. The water must have a precise depth of 7 inches and a temperature not surpassing 68 degrees Fahrenheit, a standard which she personally never adjusted. If these conditions were unmet, Margaret's displeasure was both palpable and cutting, leaving no room for question or dissent. By the 1980s, her eccentricities were somewhat of an open secret, provoking the interest of the British press, who relished the intersection of glamour and dysfunction that her lifestyle projected. Yet, what truly captivated the imagination of those in her circle was the alluring yet bizarre reality that she once ordered bottled water from England to avoid using the hotel's plumbing during her travels. Whether this was motivated by superstition, distrust, or an instinctive adherence to her elite upbringing remained speculative. For Margaret, such demands were not mere quirks but rather customary standards of royal life that must be maintained. Raised amidst great wealth and adoration, with a cadre of attendants preemptively catering to her every need, she viewed the outside world as a brief interlude from a sanctuary of privilege. The bath, transcending its function, served as a ritual of profound significance. It was the cornerstone of her day, a sacred experience demanding uninterrupted time. Reports suggest that an hour might pass in this ritual, wherein daily duties were paused to accommodate her. A flaw in her bathing conditions, excess chlorine or an unwelcome scent, could throw her entire day into disarray. Thus, the true wit of this narrative lies in how Princess Margaret articulated her royal authority through these domestic rituals. Her bath symbolized a boundary, an assertion of her identity as a royal that dictated how the world should accommodate her desires. Within these confines, she embraced the absurdity of her lifestyle, even indulging in smoking and drinking, and occasionally engaging in meetings while ensconced in her bath. The emergence of these anecdotes from the palace walls initially drew skepticism, yet they ultimately received quiet confirmation from those who had witnessed her distinct habits firsthand. A former royal valet remarked that while not every trip involved her specific water request, it was not unheard of. The insistence on curating her bathing experience exemplified her intrinsic need for control amidst the chaos of royal obligations. Margaret's existence unfurled amidst contradictions, her yearning for ordinary life counterbalanced with her disdain for the lack of eminence, a desire for solitude clashing with a fondness for the spotlight. In this whirlwind, she found solace in her meticulously orchestrated bathing rituals, perhaps reflecting more than just preference, but a deeper, ineffable need for certainty in an unpredictable world. This is where the ancient regality and contemporary contradictions of her life comes to a head, revealing a woman who, in her quest for perfection, encapsulated the complexities of being royal, revealing both her extraordinary nature and the profound weight of what that title entailed. Queen Elizabeth II's management of her public persona was sophisticated and strategic, as evidenced by her peculiar yet practical accessory, a portable hook. In a reign that spanned over 7 decades, the Queen epitomized the art of nonverbal communication, employing minimal gestures to convey a wealth of meaning. Her handbag, often underestimated as just an accessory, served multifaceted functions, akin to a Swiss Army knife in the realm of royal etiquette. While speculation around its contents has captivated observers, featuring essentials like reading glasses, mints, and a modest sum for charitable donations, it is the presence of a simple handbag hook that stands out. This unassuming device, roughly matchbox-sized, could be discreetly affixed beneath tables, allowing the Queen to keep her handbag suspended instead of relegated to less dignified locations. The necessity of such a tool may sound trivial. After all, a monarch of her stature had no need for engaging with heavy objects or carrying everyday trappings. Yet, this seemingly mundane instrument speaks volumes about her desire for control amid the often chaotic nature of royal engagements. Historically, Elizabeth transitioned through a myriad of formalities, her life meticulously orchestrated down to minute details. Palace insiders suggested that the hook was emblematic of a thoughtful approach to her surroundings. It allowed her to neatly manage personal belongings, subtly refusing the vulnerability of leaving her handbag abandoned or relying on aides for assistance. Each action concerning the handbag carried hidden meanings, acting as a coded language dictating her wishes without uttering a word. In the course of meeting over 15 prime ministers and engaging with thousands of official events across the globe, the Queen managed a fluctuating environment while asserting her preferences for her own possessions, nothing too extravagant, yet always layered with meaning. In safeguarding her handbag, the Queen juxtaposed her public persona's grandeur with a need for order and simplicity. This balance painted her as a figure who, behind the glittering facade, cherished practicality, as a tight control of personal spaces revealed a minimalist's approach to royal life. Her handbag became more than an accessory. It was a lens through which to appreciate a ruler who navigated through complexities with quiet restraint, suggesting that in her world, sovereignty was found not in excess but in meticulous control of the little things. The irony deepens with the anecdote of a son who preferred to delegate even the mundane tasks, such as ironing shoelaces, illustrating the collaborative nature of royal duty versus the singular vigilance of a queen's demeanour. In the realm of British royalty, nestled amongst opulence and grandiloquent ceremonies, peculiarities can often blend seamlessly into the fabric of daily life, leading to a certain normalization of eccentricity. Yet, now and then, a peculiar rumor manages to capture public attention, so utterly bizarre and far-fetched that it momentarily awakens collective incredulity. One such instance pertains to the curious anecdote of Prince Charles and his hired individual, whose sole task allegedly involved ironing his shoelaces. Initially perceived as satirical, a vision of a whimsical aristocrat reclining luxuriously while an attendant fusses over his laces with meticulous care, the story transitioned from jest to reality when former royal aides recounted the truth behind this oddity. The shoelace technician was not merely an eccentric luxury but part of a broader valet team, charged with the minute details of the prince's wardrobe. This role entailed a range of functions, specifically ensuring that the shoelaces were not just clean, but flawless, marked by an absence of creases or unsightly kinks. Each lace was pressed to perfection, laying serenely flat as it threaded through the shoe eyelets, culminating in a bow befitting royalty. At first consideration, one might question the significance of such a trivial detail, as these laces would seldom draw the eye of camera lenses or occasion global intrigue. Yet, for Charles, this meticulous attention to detail represented something deeper, an intricate ritual, a counterbalance to the constrictive reality of royal life. The supposed freedom that royalty bestows often comes with profound restrictions, as every aspect of existence is choreographed, leaving scant room for personal agency. Within this context, the cultivation of personal routines becomes a subtle act of self-determination, an oasis of order in a landscape of uncertainty. Paul Burrell, a former butler to both Prince Charles and Princess Diana, describes the prince's ongoing preparation as a symphony of precision, encompassing everything from the temperature of his bathwater to the proper alignment of pajamas. Each day began with the conscientious squeezing of toothpaste onto a brush, culminating in the ironing of shoelaces, executed with a low-heat iron to ensure fabric integrity. These polished laces were then laced into equally well-kept shoes, arranged in anticipation of a daily agenda that might encompass welcoming dignitaries or engaging in earnest conversations, albeit with plants. To the uninitiated, such rituals appear borderline absurd, perhaps even chaotic once stripped of context. However, within the ceremonial walls of royalty, such attention to detail is commonplace, albeit often overlooked. This particular instance garners attention not for its extravagance, but for its embodiment of obsessive perfectionism, the yearning for a controlled existence where even the minutiae are meticulously managed. This stems not solely from a desire for physical appearance, but rather an expression of an internal drive for order, stemming from a youth steeped in scrutiny and expectation. Raised in a household governed by staff responsible for every detail, Charles's childhood was characterized by distant parental figures and an environment that cultivated an acute sense of discipline. For him, ironed shoelaces became synonymous with resilience against the chaos of life, a testament to a standard that transcends mere indulgence, but rather signifies an urgency for correctness and reliability. Such notions incite both ridicule and sympathy. The absurdity of employing someone to press shoelaces evokes a chuckle, yet it also unveils the sadness inherent in the quest for control, revealing an individual reaching for a semblance of peace. Meanwhile, in an ironic contrast to the tightly controlled facade of royal life, young Elizabeth demonstrated an audacious spirit during World War II, stealthily exiting Buckingham Palace in disguise, an act so daring and rebellious that it went unnoticed for far too long, emphasizing the complexities and deep contrasts that underpin the royal narrative. The tale of Queen Elizabeth, the second nighttime escapade in World War II, underscored a remarkable confluence of duty and desire. This incident reads like a chapter from a historical novel. A young princess, draped in borrowed attire, slipped through the gates of Buckingham Palace to partake in the exuberant celebrations of victory in Europe Day on May 8, 1945. At a young age, Elizabeth, then a mere 19, sought a connection to her people amid the crushing backdrop of war, a sentiment that resonated deeply in a city eventually liberated from its somber atmosphere. Emerging from the formality that defined her existence, Elizabeth, along with her younger sister Margaret, ventured into the jubilant throng of Londoners celebrating the end of a harrowing chapter of history. The veneer of royalty was momentarily set aside. They became two anonymous girls in military uniforms, blending seamlessly into a sea of enthusiastic revelers. This fleeting moment provided Elizabeth, primarily known as Princess, a glimpse of normalcy, far removed from her reality defined by protocol and privilege. The decision to venture out was not rooted in rebellion, but rather in permission granted by their parents, the King and Queen. It was an indicative reflection of a compassionate leadership that recognized the significance of shared moments with the populace. That night, as the city erupted in spontaneous festivities, Elizabeth and Margaret merged with their fellow citizens, singing along to familiar tunes and chatting with servicemen, all the while cloaked in the anonymity that royalty rarely encounters. Witnesses described Elizabeth's demeanor as both composed and fascinated. Here was a girl with the weight of her royal lineage momentarily lifted amidst an electrifying crowd. The stark contrast of her structured upbringing against this experience of genuine enjoyment illuminated the complexities of her life as a representative of the monarchy. This singular occasion encapsulated the paradox of her existence, bound by duty yet yearning for connection, reminiscent of the universal struggle for identity against the constraints of expectation. The impact of that night endured with Elizabeth, who later recounted her experience with a blend of nostalgia and clarity, noting not the scandal of royal mischief but the simple human need for freedom and joy. In an act of rare spontaneity, she transformed into something other than a sovereign. She became just Elizabeth, a young woman participating in the collective joy of her nation. Through this lens, the incident transcends mere anecdote, serving as a poignant reminder of the profound connections that exist between a ruler and their people. And while this narrative of youthful escapism stands as a touching historical account, it also invites reflection on the more frivolous adventures undertaken by the royal family, such as Prince Harry's infamous costume escapades. Prince Harry's unexpected choice to don a Spider-Man costume during his time at Sandhurst stands as one of those captivating moments that straddle the line between the mundane and the extraordinary, challenging our perceptions of royal decorum. Initially dismissed as a tall tale by the British press, the image of the fifth in line for the throne, gallivanting in the spandex of a beloved superhero within the austere walls of a military academy, seems far-fetched. Sandhurst, known as the British Army's elite officer training institution, has historically been a bastion of discipline, where polished shoes and sharply pressed uniforms reflect a rigid adherence to military standards. Thus the idea of humorously eschewing those norms was almost unfathomable. However, in 2005, Harry, enrolling under the pseudonym Officer Cadet Wales, sought a semblance of anonymity but quickly found that royal presence is difficult to mask. Though he received the same treatment as his peers, the aura of his lineage rendered him instantly recognizable, especially when he entered a room dressed as Spider-Man. The joyful encounter unfolded during an unofficial dorm celebration, a rare space where strict military formality momentarily dissolved into camaraderie. Opinions differ regarding the theme of the night. Some recall childhood heroes, while others remember film characters, but all witnesses concur on one fact: Harry donned a genuine Spider-Man outfit, complete with mask and vibrant colors, embodying an infectious exuberance. What makes this event noteworthy lies not only in Harry's spirited participation but also in its broader implications. By the time this incident occurred, he had already begun to navigate the complexities of his public persona, harmonizing the earnest expectations of military life with the spirited, often rebellious culture of a young man engaging with fame. This costume was not merely a moment of levity. Rather, it symbolized a fleeting release from the weight of royal obligations, allowing a momentary escape into a facade that resonated deeply with his internal struggles. This light-hearted rebellion within the rigid confines of Sandhurst can be interpreted as an emotional release, as Harry confronted the immense pressures of both his family legacy and public scrutiny. Behind the mask of a superhero, the young prince found refuge in a space that emphasized merit over lineage, where every cadet was held accountable for their actions, thus redefining his understanding of identity and self-worth. The humorous reprieve of his Spider-Man moment can be appreciated as an expression of youthful defiance in an environment often characterized by solemnity and discipline. Interestingly, this playful eccentricity aligns seamlessly with the character of Spider-Man himself, an embodiment of the duality of adolescence, embodying both the weight of responsibility and the desire for levity. In reflecting on his tenure at Sandhurst years later, Harry would refer to it as a pivotal period for his personal growth, characterized by a newfound sense of purpose, realization of command, and the formation of lasting bonds with fellow cadets. It serves as a quintessential royal anecdote that, while seemingly absurd, reveals deeper truths about the pressures of royal life. Amidst all the peculiarities of royal quirks, such as a queen signaling distress with her handbag or Charles's valet attending to shoelaces, the imagery of Harry as Spider-Man evokes a striking symbol of youthful complexity that remains both entertaining and thought-provoking. In the realm of the British monarchy, few elements are as enchanting as the presence of Queen Elizabeth II cherished corgis, whose role transcended that of mere pets to a place of quasi-royalty within Buckingham Palace. Their short legs and keen expressions glided through the stately corridors, embodying a unique charm that resonated deeply with the Queen for over 80 years. From her childhood, wherein she received her first corgi named Juki, to her later years, these dogs were steadfast companions during state functions, family gatherings, and Samba occasions alike. They became iconic figures, nestled among the Queen's famous hats and handbags, here and there appearing in photographs that captured the essence of royal life. The unconventional reality of the royal corgis did not stop with their regal demeanor. Indeed, whispers that the Queen employed a personal chef solely for the corgis were seemingly preposterous, yet layers of truth confirmed this delightful absurdity. These dogs, it turns out, dined like dignitaries, receiving meticulously prepared meals crafted by a steadfast kitchen team that adhered to a strict, rotating menu tailored to health and seasonal changes. No basic kibble or haphazard scraps. Their diets featured fresh meats, rabbit, beef, chicken, lamb, paired with rice and vegetables, free of seasoning but rich in care. Former royal chef Darren McGrady recounted the elaborate preparation involved, where every morsel was finely chopped to perfection, reflecting the Queen's deep devotion to the creatures she held dear. Each corgi maintained their own dining identity, complete with specific bowls and feeding rituals that drew equal parts reverence and levity among the staff. The palace atmosphere reflected a blend of humor and seriousness. While grand state dinners might falter, one could never undermine the corgi menu. These dogs, with their instinctual behavior, created a rare emotional sanctuary for the Queen amid the trappings of royal life. They remained unimpressed by the pomp surrounding her position. Their desires were unfiltered and immediate, a refreshing contrast to the often scripted engagements of court life. The corgis not only accepted her companionship but embodied a link to her own humanity, compelling her to protect and cherish them amidst the grand narrative of her reign. For the Queen, the corgis were far more than pampered entertainers. They were participants in her life's narrative, witnesses to the peaks and valleys of a public existence steeped in duty. Their ceaseless presence through monumental events, coronations, shifts in government, and personal tribulations, rendered them an integral part of her story. Indeed, they had their own elaborate living quarters, fluffy beds, and even Christmas stockings, showcasing a level of affection that straddled the line between absurdity and heartfelt connection. Yet the Queen's playful acknowledgement of their quirks added to the story's intrigue. She understood how outrageous her dedication might appear, yet she never shied away from embracing that loyalty, a rarity in the often isolating realm of royal duties. The corgi stood as a metaphor for the monarchy itself, tenacious, demanding, and enduring against the tides of change, depicting a regal legacy woven with personal affection. This multifaceted relationship speaks to the complexities of power, loyalty, and identity within royal life, suggesting that amidst the opulence of crowns and ceremonies, a pack of playful corgis could truly represent the spirit of a monarch. Thus, the charming tales of Queen Elizabeth II and her corgis offer rich fodder for reflection on the balance between public obligations and personal connection in the narrative of British history, capturing an enduring arc that resonates profoundly beyond the gates of the palace. Princess Diana's audacious escapade, dressing as a man to infiltrate a popular London gay nightclub, stands as a fascinating episode in the intersection of celebrity culture and personal rebellion. This remarkable story, which recalls the whimsy of a romantic comedy, reflects deeper complexities within Diana's life and her royal image. In 1988, at a moment when her public persona was under duress from extensive scrutiny and personal turmoil within her marriage, she craved a taste of normalcy, far from her prescribed role as the demure Princess of Wales. Accompanied by well-known figures such as DJ Kenny Everett and rock star Freddie Mercury, Diana sought refuge in the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, an iconic venue celebrated for its lively drag performances and free-spirited ambience. Although initially met with skepticism from her friends, worried about the potential for public recognition, Diana was resolute. Rejecting royal privilege, she fashioned an alter ego by donning a military-style jacket and aviator sunglasses, effectively masking her identity. This endeavor was more than a mere act of play. It was an assertion of autonomy in a life otherwise dictated by duty and decorum. As she strolled into the tavern, surrounded by laughter and chaos, Diana experienced the profound release of anonymity, reveling in the fleeting thrill of being just another guest in a place where no one considered her status. The eventual emergence of this story challenged conventional narratives about the princess, transforming it from mere rumor to a poignant reflection of her individuality, a realization that transcended her role as a symbolic figurehead. The media's response ranged from skepticism to admiration, yet the anecdote marked a significant emergence of Diana's personal desires in the public consciousness. In a moment where she momentarily escaped the burden of her title, she embodied a longing for liberation that resonated deeply with her followers. Diana's escapade illustrates not just her quest for spontaneity, but a broader commentary on the human experience of confinement within societal expectations. Within the chaos of that night, she was more than a royal figure. She was a woman savoring the freedom to exist without the weight of scrutiny, illuminating the tensions between formality and authenticity that characterized much of her life. Such stories encapsulate her complexity as not only a public icon but as a nuanced individual navigating the shadows and lights of her era. As we transition from this intriguing vignette of her life, we find ourselves confronted with equally bizarre yet humorous tales from the palace, such as a curious incident involving Camilla being attacked by a rabbit, which serves as a reminder that even within royal lives, the unexpected lurks nearby. Camilla, now Queen Consort, has experienced her share of peculiar royal engagements, but perhaps none more bizarre than her encounter with an unruly group of rabbits. As most official royal appearances comprise routine activities, cutting ribbons, engaging in small talk, and unveiling plaques, her visit to a farm in the British countryside took an unexpected turn that quickly became a humorous anecdote in the annals of royal history. Details of the locale vary among sources. Some cite Cornwall, while others insist it was Wales, but the narrative remains unchanged. During a tour focused on sustainable agricultural practices involving local schoolchildren, Camilla was the ideal picture of diplomacy, engaged in conversation and ignoring the press. Then, with little warning, rabbits were introduced as a photo opportunity. The intention was innocent. However, the outcome was anything but. The rabbits, seemingly emboldened by their accustomed human interaction, turned on the Duchess with a comical enthusiasm. Witnesses offer contrasting perspectives. Some found humor in the spectacle, while for Camilla, initial amusement transformed into an evident sense of alarm as the fluffy creatures swarmed around her. Descriptions of the scene portray her as engulfed by an adorable yet overwhelming fluff of fast rabbits, causing disconcertion when her shoes were no longer visible. While the rabbits posed no direct threat, lacking aggression or malice, they infringed upon her personal space in a delightfully chaotic manner. Palace aides hurried to assist, attempting to clear a path through the jubilant crowd of rabbits. Their efforts culminated in an awkward but endearing spectacle of Camilla amidst enthusiastic critters, deftly balancing the demands of her royal role with unexpected hilarity. Pictures from this incident capture her laughter and mild discomposure, presenting a surreal tableau of British diplomacy at its finest. In subsequent interviews, Camilla demonstrated remarkable humor, jokingly referring to the incident as a mugging by rabbits and advising future hosts to limit their animal companions. This incident embodies the unpredictability of public engagements, wherein even the most meticulously organized events can devolve into delightful chaos. Such occurrences challenge the royal mandate to maintain composure and grace, compelling the sovereign to embrace the unexpected with poise. This experience invites speculation about Camilla's thoughts in those bewildering moments. Did she reflect on the whims of fate that led her to such absurdity? Perhaps there was a sense of relief that it wasn't corgis, another unpredictable royal mascot. In the grand tapestry of royal life, this rabbit ambush stands out as a whimsical episode, illustrating the lighter side of royal duty amid an array of bizarre entanglements, echoing the enduring charm and complexity of her position. Furthermore, the tale serves to remind us of the often absurd nature of public life and the unique burdens faced by those in the royal family. King Charles III's peculiar penchant for a custom ice cube tray reveals not just a quirky royal habit but a deeper narrative about the modern monarchy's relationship with tradition and control. In an institution weighed down by centuries of legacy, abstraction, and expectation, it is both reassuring and absurd to discover that the monarch finds solace in the mundane act of ice cube production, demanding cubes that are flawlessly shaped and uniform in size. This idiosyncrasy, once merely a whispered joke among social circles, takes on greater significance when confirmed by former royal aides, underscoring the peculiar details that shape royal existence. Moreover, King Charles's insistence on having his own portable bar, complete with an ice tray, speaks to a broader human need for agency in a life largely dictated by others. It is a window into a psyche shaped by constant scrutiny and public expectation, a life adorned with rituals where few choices remain ungoverned. This obsession with detail finds echoes throughout royal history. Other figures, such as Queen Elizabeth II with her handbag hook and Prince Philip's preferred grilling spot, highlight a strange thread of meticulousness among the royal family. Yet, it is Charles who personifies the exquisite dance between being modern and archaic, prioritizing eco-conscious values yet clinging to quirky personal comforts. The British public's reactions range from bemusement to mild outrage, revealing a nation still grappling with the contradictions that monarchy embodies. Charles, an emblem of modernity and environmental awareness, paradoxically indulges in the minutiae of luxury, a gesture that is both humorous and reflective of a broader truth about royalty. Ultimately, the narrative wrapped around this ice cube tray not only injects an element of humor into royal life but also acts as a metaphor for the British monarchy itself, an institution embroidered with history, absurdity, and a profound need for control in an unpredictable world. As we uncover the layers of these royal eccentricities, we are drawn into the realization that behind the ceremonial facade lies a complex tapestry of character, shaping our understanding of monarchy itself.